Good morning once again from Mission Control in Houston and the International Space Station Flight Control Room here at the Johnson Space Center. At this hour, an American astronaut and 2 Russian cosmonauts are closing in for a date with the International Space Station and an automated docking to the station's Prishal module on the Earth-facing port of the Russian segment of the complex. That docking is scheduled about 48 minutes from now at 4:04 a.m. Central Time, 5:04 a.m. Eastern Time. Aboard the Soyuz MS-27 at this hour, NASA astronaut Johnny Kim and Roscosmos cosmonauts Sergei Ryzhikov and Alexei Zabritsky are now about 2 hours and 28 minutes into their flight that began with their launch at 12:47 and 15 seconds a.m. Central Time, 1:47 and 15 seconds a.m. Eastern Time from Launch Pad 6 at Site 31 at the Baikonur Cosmodrome in Kazakhstan. The journey of Kim, Ryzhikov, and Zabritsky occurred following a flawless countdown at the Baikonur Cosmodrome in Kazakhstan, liftoff occurring right on time. The Soyuz 2.1A booster arced out to the northeast from its launch pad in Baikonur. A good roll, pitch, and yaw program sent the vehicle on the correct trajectory for an 8-minute, 46-second ride that resulted in the Soyuz MS-27 spacecraft with the 3 crew members on board separating from the 3rd or upper stage of that Soyuz booster. Seconds later, the Soyuz solar arrays and navigational antennas unfurled as planned, and the race was on to catch up to the International Space Station. Over the course of the past 2.5 hours, a series of pre-programmed engine burns have raised the altitude of the Soyuz to match that of the International Space Station, as well as fine-tuning its path to the complex. We are closing in now less than 13 kilometers away from the International Space Station. A series of tests of the Corps' automated rendezvous system aboard the Soyuz so far has proved to be successful. No systems issues have been reported, and all of the Soyuz television systems and communication systems are operating as advertised. About 12 minutes from now, here in Mission Control in Houston, Flight Director Anthony Varia will poll his team of flight controllers to get a go, no-go for docking. That docking will occur after the Soyuz has conducted a fly-around of the International Space Station. That's scheduled to begin about 23 minutes from now. This will precisely align the Soyuz forward docking probe with the docking port on the Prishal module, which is attached to the multi-purpose laboratory module on the Earth-facing side of the Russian segment of the International Space Station. There will be a brief, very brief period of station keeping where the Soyuz will hold position, allowing the Russian flight control team at the Russian Mission Control Center in Korolyov outside of Moscow to assess the alignment of that forward docking probe with Prishal before the commands will be initiated. As well as on the Prishal module docking interface. A little over 2 hours after docking, after leak checks are initiated to ensure that we have an airtight seal between Soyuz and the station, the hatches will open, and the Expedition 72 crew, led by a Russian cosmonaut Alexei Ovchinin, will open the hatch on the Prishal side of the docking interface. The Soyuz hatch will be open, and Kim, Zabritsky, and Ryzhikov will float on board to join Ovchinin, Ivan Wagner, Kirill Peskov, Don Pettit, Ann McLean, Nicole Ayers, and Takoya Onishi. Those are the 7 current residents of the International Space Station. The station's population will grow to 10 for 11 days and change, resulting in the undocking of the Soyuz MS-26 spacecraft on Saturday afternoon, April 19th, with Pettit, Wagner, and Ovchinin on board. They will be heading for an undocking and a parachute-assisted landing on the steppe of Kazakhstan in the early morning hours of April 20th, Kazakhstan time. That will be Saturday evening, U.S. time. That landing will conclude about a 7-month mission for Pettit, Wagner, and Ovchinin as they will come home following their research mission on board the International Outpost. This video is the overlay video in the cockpit of the Soyuz MS-27 spacecraft, showing a variety of different parameters available for Ryzhikov, who's the Soyuz commander, seated in the center seat of the descent module of the 3-section Soyuz vehicle. To his left is board engineer number 1, that's Alexei Zabritsky, and on his right, NASA's Johnny Kim, serving as board engineer number 2. For Zabritsky and Kim, this is their first flight into space. It is the 3rd flight into space for Sergei Ryzhikov, who up to this point has logged 358 days of spaceflight experience.
10 meters per second. In 10 minutes, expect manifold 3.
Johnny Kim, serving as flight engineer aboard the Soyuz MS-27, has already had a distinguished career, both in the field of medicine as well as in the military. He is an astronaut with great aspirations as to what he intends to accomplish on board the International Space Station. Let's take a closer look right now at NASA's Johnny Kim.
Lifelong learning is the life goal of mine. So when we start off in this world as really young children, we have this uninhibited belief in ourselves that we can go out and do anything. And I think along the way, when we grow up, we lose a little bit of that. We, as adults, as human beings, as learners, are always more capable than we give ourselves credit for. You're never too late to learn something new or to start a new venture, start a new adventure. Yeah, I had the honor of serving our country as a SEAL earlier in my life, and later on as a physician, and now as an astronaut. And I've learned unique things from all of them. This lesson I learned early in SEAL training, to pass the crucible of this training. It's called Hell Week. Essentially, you're up for 5.5 days. No sleep, you get like a couple-hour break, but essentially for those 5.5 days, you are enduring very harsh physical conditions. After 24 hours, we got our first meal in the galley. Hot food. You were still cold because you're sopping wet and shivering at the table, but it was in a warm environment. And one of the instructors said, I have the entire schedule for the rest of Hell Week. Who wants to see it? And about a dozen people raised their hands and they went over. And about a dozen people immediately quit because they could not humanly comprehend the amount of pain and suffering that was ahead of them. But those who just chose to focus on their next meal, they just had that to work with, not this. Any kind of goal, any kind of mission, if you just think about where you are in the end goal and all the work in between, you're never going to make it. It's too overwhelming. But if you break that up into much smaller bite-sized pieces, everyone can achieve greatness. And that's what we do here at NASA. Medicine's the last thing I wanted to do. I feel like the universe just kind of picked that path for me, like, you will do this. In order for me to join the Navy as soon as possible, I had to become a medic, or what we call it, a hospital corpsman. So that kind of set the foundation of my introduction to medicine. And then, of course, in the SEAL team, one of my duties was to be the combat medic. And I had the fortune to be able to treat people when they needed help the most. After my experiences in combat and in the military, I just needed to do something else, but I still wanted to serve the public and help others. And to me, medicine was the natural choice. And realizing, like we talked about earlier, about lifelong learning. It's never too late to learn something new or develop. And so I was very inspired by NASA. It was actually the first Orion mission, right? It was on YouTube. I don't know how it came on my feed, but it was an amazing narration of this mission that I knew nothing about. And that was the first seed for me to be like, wow, NASA's doing something incredible. And they are impacting the community and the world. I would like to be a part of it. And the more I learned about NASA, the more I realized that the same forces that had pulled me into the SEAL teams, into medicine, which is leaving the world better than we found it in our own way, I certainly think NASA does that very, very well. And so I became inspired. I wanted to be a part of the mission, contribute to the mission, and help inspire the world and the next generation to make this world a better place, because right now, it's the only one we got. I'm Johnny Kim, and I'm a NASA astronaut.
NASA's Johnny Kim, along with Sergei Ryzhikov and Alexei Zabritsky, now about 37 minutes away from arrival at the International Space Station. This view from an external television camera on the Soyuz MS-27 spacecraft, showing the cross-haired data on that overlay. In the lower left-hand corner, you can see the two lower values just at the bottom of that bottom left-hand box. 3.7 kilometers, that is the current distance and closing between Soyuz and the space station. And the bottom line, 8.8 meters per second, that is the rate of closure. At the point at which the Soyuz will arrive at the station for docking, that rate of closure will have slowed to just about 1/10 of a meter per second, allowing contact and capture between the Soyuz forward docking probe and the Prishal module. That's the bulbous node module that is attached to the multipurpose laboratory module on the Russian segment of the International Space Station. We're also coming up on the point at which the Soyuz will execute a series of pre-programmed impulse burns, as they are called, using the main engine and the thrusters on the Soyuz vehicle. These are small mid-course correction burns that will fine-tune the Soyuz's path toward the International Space Station, with the fly-around of the station beginning just under 13 minutes from now. This is an angular approach to the station at a distance of about 400 meters that will precisely position that forward docking probe right down the barrel of the Prishal module docking port, initiating a brief period of station keeping before the commands are given for final approach and docking. And there, through the eyes of the International Space Station's external cameras, at an orbital sunrise showing the Soyuz MS-27.
Yes,
just 2 hours and 42 minutes ago, the Soyuz lifted off from its launch pad at the Baikonur Cosmodrome, now approaching the neighborhood of the International Space Station for docking that is scheduled about 34 minutes from now.
Everything is
Station
nominal.
shifts to the right and down.
However, the screen is black.
A beautiful palette of colors as the International Space Station and the Soyuz fly up the east coast of South America on a trajectory from southwest to northeast in an orbit inclined 51.6 degrees to either side of the equator.
Yes, everything is connected.
Depot
I just got the
firing in
recommendation
progress.
that you please
Completed.
disconnect it and then connect it back.
The burn. Combined GSO confirmed. SKD fired 10-3105, copy.
A good view of those thruster firings. Again, those are fine-tuned maneuvers to more precisely hone in on the International Space Station.
11-7124.
The Impulse 4 burn using the Soyuz main engine has just been executed. A quick 17.6-second burst.
Moscow Station, Space to Ground 1. Go ahead on Space to Ground 1. Yes, we got the picture now. Yes, I disconnected the USB and then connected it back. Now I have the image as well. Excellent. Thank you so very much.
Once again, the view of the display inside the Soyuz MS-27 spacecraft as the two cosmonauts, Sergei Ryzhikov, the Soyuz commander, and Alexei Zabritsky, along with NASA's Johnny Kim, look at the International Space Station approaching the cross-haired field of view. Impulse 4 burn now complete. Impulse 5 coming up momentarily.
Copy.
On board the station, the 7 crew members comprising the Expedition 72 crew have been up for safety procedures and evacuation procedures. That is typical standard procedure to make sure that everybody is aware of where all of the vehicles are located and where all of the emergency flight data file books are located. The crew then will move into the back end of their day, having an opportunity to familiarize themselves in the beginning of a handover that will result in Don Pettit of NASA and Roscosmos cosmonauts Alexei Ovchinin and Ivan Wagner leaving the station on Saturday, April 19th. Kim, Ryzhikov, and Zabritsky will be aboard the station until December.
Image on VECO monitor. If you don't mind, I will play with the CG mode. Yes, here you go.
Less than 8 minutes away from the Soyuz initiating its fly-around of the International Space Station. That will occur at a range of about 400 meters from the complex, a fly-around angle of almost 55 degrees. A short time before we began our broadcast, the Corps' automated rendezvous system on the Soyuz was checked out and is operating perfectly. If all goes as planned, this is basically a hands-off approach for the 3 crew members on board the Soyuz MS-27, as the Corps will act to guide in the Soyuz for its precise link-up with the Prishal module, that docking scheduled less than 30 minutes from now.
Дальность 1000 километров. Скорость 3,4.
1,000 meters, rate 3.4. Depot firing confirmed.
Захват торможения.
Braking.
And a good view of the International Space Station now from the external camera on the Soyuz vehicle. The Soyuz less than 1,000 meters away, closing at a rate of about 2.6 meters per second. Six minutes away from the initiation of the fly-around. The space station and Soyuz passing off the northeast coast of South America, moving from southwest to northeast.
Depot duration 30 seconds, still in progress.
Минуту отработал депо.
Depot firing duration total 1 minute.
Скорость 2,49.
7.8 range.
The Soyuz has just executed Impulse 5, as it is called. This was about a 72-second burn. Coming up is Impulse 6, another 12-second burst of the Soyuz thrusters. Beautiful shot over the South Atlantic at an altitude of 262 statute miles.
$702.37.
702.37 on VSK. I can see the station, good visual, but not on VKO.
Работает депо, пароль торможения.
Depot firing, braking. Copy.
$1,350.
177. 50.
Работа депо не горит.
LED is not illuminated.
1,64, дальность 600 метров.
Range 600 meters.
The Soyuz MS-27 with Johnny Kim, Sergei Ryzhikov, and Alexei Zabritsky on board, flying in tandem with the International Space Station. Two vehicles flying at 17,000 miles an hour plus. The Soyuz poised to begin its fly around of the station about 3 minutes from now.
Дальность 500, скорость
500 range. Rate 1.5. Copy.
готовность навигации, готовность прогноза.
Again, after docking occurs, there will be a brief period to allow the relative motion of the two vehicles to settle down amongst themselves against the docking interfaces of the two spacecraft,
Copy.
initiating the retraction of the forward docking probe that will set the stage for hooks on the Soyuz and the Prashal sides of the docking interface to close to form a hard mate. Leak checks will be initiated on both sides of the docking interface by the respective crews, setting the stage for hatch opening that is scheduled somewhere in the neighborhood of about 6:20 a.m. Central Time, 7:20 a.m. Eastern Time this morning.
Назначил самолет в 11:40-15.
11:40:15, start of fly around, depot of firing.
The Soyuz in the foreground,
Shifted.
that is the Soyuz MS-26. That is the ride home on April 19th, U.S. time, for Don Pettit, Alexei Ovchinin, and Ivan Wagner. Peering over that Soyuz, a good view of the new MS-27 that is now less than 24 minutes away from arrival at the International Space Station.
We have about 46 degrees left.
Скорость 0,8.
Rate 0.8, range 150.
$320
320 and 0.75.
The Soyuz arrived just a touch earlier than had been planned. The fly around currently being executed. Once the Soyuz has precisely aligned itself with the Prishal module, there will be a quick period of station keeping to enable the flight controllers in Korolyov outside of Moscow to assess the precise alignment of the forward docking probe with Prishal. Less than 300 meters separating Soyuz from the station, closing at a rate of about 0.6 of a meter per second.
$280.58.
280 meters, 0.58.
Принято.
Copy.
Soyuz in the station approaching the west coast of Africa. Fly around almost complete. (250 meters separating the two vehicles.
Работает ДПО.
Depot firing in progress.
Принято.
Copy.
250, скорость 0,4.
Range rate 0.4.
Soyuz steadily decelerating, basically putting the brakes on here as it completes the fly around of the station. The automated rendezvous system is operating as expected.
Работает ДПО, дальность 200.
Depot firing 200 meters.
Пропал захват на первом комплекте.
We lost signal on string 1.
Контролируем дальность.
Monitoring range visually.
Круговой поиск СНЦ, первый комплект.
String 1 is scanning.
10:44. Есть захват.
10:44, signal locked.
15, скорость 0,3.
218, rate 0.3. Copy.
Контролируйте на НПУ-1.
Monitor on info 1.
Пока не горит.
What about причал format?
Работа ДПО, даже здесь.
Not activated, depot firing in progress.
На пеленгу.
210 range.
Напротив стыковочного узла.
Actually, we are right across against the docking port.
10:45.
Причал confirmed. 11:45 confirmed. Copy. Range 200.
And at a range of 200 meters, you're looking right down the barrel of the Prishal module through the crosshairs of the Soyuz external television camera.
In progress.
Flying over southern Morocco, the Soyuz MS-27 is now in a brief period of station keeping.
Favor. You are go to turn on floodlight and ECG mode. Copy. 11:46:19. Activating ECG of VSK. Okay. Sending S-17. Armed. Send. Floodlight is on. Range 194. And the rate is 0.08. We are across from the docking port. Copy. All right. Go for final approach from control panel. Copy. We are going to send in manual command from the motion display.
Flying just to the south of Casablanca, the Soyuz MS-27 is soon to begin its final approach for docking, running ahead of schedule.
11:47. 30. Send причал. And I can see approach on the display. Depot firing in progress. Combined GSO.
And final approach now has been initiated. The flight control team in Korolyov happy with the alignment of that forward docking probe with the Prishal module, so Soyuz is now closing in on the final leg of a two-orbit journey from the launch pad in Baikonur.
What about the video? Burn complete. Range 170. Rate 0.082. Copy. Final approach.
At a range of about 47 meters, the Soyuz will execute a braking thruster test and will activate its docking system.
Range 150. Rate unintelligible. One 130.67.
Just over 3 hours ago, that vehicle sat on the launch pad at the Baikonur Cosmodrome in Kazakhstan, now closing in on the final leg of its rapid journey to reach the International Space Station.
But not on VKO monitor. Copy. 0.67 is rate.
Soyuz flying over the Mediterranean at this hour.
0.54 range rate.
On final approach for docking, just 90 meters separating Soyuz from the Prishal module.
0.43. 80 and 0.35.
0.3 of a meter per second is the closure rate.
метров.
70 meters. Point unintelligible. Confirm visual. Combined gas source. Target is about half cell to the right and down.
Back to this view of the Prashal module's docking port. Almost in the crosshairs of this view from the Soyuz external television camera, less than 60 meters separating Soyuz from its port,
27.
closing at a rate of 0.2 of a meter per second.
Дальность, скорость 0,15.
50 range, 0.15 range rate, copy.
Есть информация о готовности СП.
We have readiness data.
Дмитрий 7.
The upper section of the Soyuz, where the docking probe is located, is the orbital module. The center section where the 3 crew members are strapped in is the descent module. And the white section, the rear of the Soyuz, if you will, along with the solar arrays, is the instrumentation and propulsion module.
Range rate.
"36 meters now, the distance between Soyuz and the station. Everything is performing as planned, closing at a rate of just over 0.1 of a meter per second.
Station is half cell to the right. Crosshairs aligned. Copy. Confirm the range. Rate 0.11, range 0.25. Unintelligible. Copy.
Есть база R. Есть база R. Дальность 20, скорость.
Base confirmed. Range 0.023. Target is practically in the center. Docking port is clear. Proceeding, copy. believe it seems a bit closer. Rate 0.12. Half cell above. So that's pretty big discrepancy.
Soyuz now just 17 meters away. The proper closure rate of 1/10 of a meter per second in play.
Unintelligible. Rate 0.12. There is a slight discrepancy. Copy.
This Soyuz will park itself at the Prashal module next door to it, the Soyuz MS-26 at the Rosviet module, where the vehicle is located that will bring home Don Pettit, Alexei Ovchinin, and Ivan Wagner on April 19th U.S. time.
Small delta.
Standing by for contact and capture.
One meter. Rate 0.1.
We have contact. We have capture. At 3:57 a.m. Central Time, 4:57 a.m. Eastern Time,
2.
as the International Space Station and Soyuz MS-27 flew 262 miles over western Russia.
Congratulations, Sergei. Congratulations on your arrival to the International Space Station. Thank you, Alexei. Please repeat.
We'll now stand by for the relative motion of the two vehicles to settle down, initiating the retraction of the docking probe.
Display.
A flawless flight from launch pad to docking for Soyuz MS-27.
In work.
Johnny Kim, Sergei Ryzhikov, and Alexei Zabritsky have arrived at their home for the next several months. They will be on board the station until December.
Check-in parameters. Section 1. Thanks, 109. Preparing for R7 command. R7 input.
The flight from launch until docking was as smooth as glass for Kim, Ryzhikov, and Zabritsky.
Soyuz light deactivated. No, this is not correct. Now, S18, this is the command for the Soyuz light.
The trip for the three crew members took 3 hours and 10 minutes, with the launch occurring at 12:47 a.m. Central Time, 1:47 a.m. Eastern Time. Once again, docking occurring at 3:57 a.m. Central, 4:57 a.m. Eastern, over western Russia.
Copy, start.
Понятно, понятно. Подождем. Все команды Земли самостоятельно не выдаем. Все команды Земли самостоятельно не выдаем.
Okay, some commands are from the ground.
Какие-нибудь пожелания есть? Что приготовить? Покушать? Ребят, есть что-то? Ребят, есть что-то?
Any preferences for food that you would like to have later?
Да нет, Леша, спасибо.
Not really, but thank you.
Штатно все.
And everything nominal.
Да, все хорошо. Спокойненько так долетели. Спокойненько так долетели. Да.
We arrived
Да.
without any
Почти пораньше.
perturbations. It was great.
Сразу знакомые помнят. Сразу знакомые помнят.
We remember how it was before. Favore, this is Moscow.
Фаворы на связи.
Go ahead.
Фаворы на связи. Как слышно, Фаворов? Как слышно, Фаворов?
Moscow, how do you read us? Yes, we read you. Favore.
The docking probe has been retracted and hooks are now driving.
Now,
This will form a hard mate between Soyuz and Prishal.
S13.
Once that's accomplished, leak checks will begin on both sides of the docking interface to ensure that we have an airtight seal. Prior to the opening of the hatches, there's scheduled about 2 hours and 15 minutes from now.
13. And do we start ECG? Not yet.
Пока нет. Вас
Copy. Not yet.
Готовим С-13.
Preparing S13 command. Sierra 13. Moscow station, space to ground 1.
С-13 подготовлено.
Go ahead on space to ground 1. S13 command armed.
Выдаем. 12:03.
And Sergey, I'm ready to put KVD into the electrical control position.
Закрыт. Есть электроразъем, светофорный опрос.
Transfer hatch closed. You're a go. Connector.
The hooks are now closed on the Soyuz side of the docking interface. Next up, the closing of the hooks on the Prishal side.
Tune the command.
3:40. Выдал повторно С-13.
S13.
Есть крюки закрыты.
We have indication for hooks closed at 12:03:40.
Телевидение отключаем.
Do we turn off the video? Not yet, Favore.
Вас понял.
Copy. Favore, now open O2 manual isolation valve.
Вас понял.
Step by
Открываем РПВ-1.
Sergei Ryzhikov, the Soyuz commander, running through post-docking procedures to safe the vehicle.
Подача.
It was a flawless docking at 3:57 a.m. Central Time, 4:57 a.m. Eastern Time.
Открыт. Режим продувка 30 секунд. Правильно поняли?
30-second purge. Correct?
Верно.
На 30 секунд ФПРД режим продукции.
Принято.
Latches retracted. Cabin O2 valve.
Yes. 3, 2, 1. Поехали.
3, 2, 1.
Давление 779 высота.
Pressure in SR 739.
Штанга СМ стянута. Штанга СМ стянута.
Probe retracted. Moscow station, space ground 1.
3,
Go ahead on space ground 1. 5 seconds.
1. Закрываем.
I'm doing the closeout ops and
transfer hatch to close.
Depths 10, 11, and 12.
Repress.
For TV camera, yes.
Complete.
Please go ahead and do the closeout off.
Pressure 790.
Copy.
Поворот, закрывайте РПВ-1.
Ready to close. O2 manual isolation valve. Yes, you have a go. Closing.
This is Mission Control Houston. We now have confirmation of the closing of the Prishal node module hooks. So we have a hard mate now between the Soyuz MS-27 and the International Space Station. This will initiate a couple of hours of leak checks, the pressurization of the vestibule, the small passageway between the Soyuz and Prishal that will lead to the hatch opening and the arrival on board the station for NASA's Johnny Kim and Roscosmos cosmonauts Sergei Ryzhikov and Alexei Zubritsky. So rendezvous and docking went by the book, no issues at all with the Soyuz spacecraft. Docking occurring at 3:57 a.m. Central Time, 4:57 a.m. Eastern Time, as the two spacecraft, the station and Soyuz, flew 262 miles over western Russia. With that, we'll wrap up this broadcast and point you toward our hatch opening broadcast. In about 2 hours from now, we'll be back on the air at 6 a.m. Central, 7 a.m. Eastern Time. The procedures to begin the opening of the hatch should occur about 20 minutes later. The three newly arrived crew members, Kim, Ryzhikov, and Zubritsky, will float on board. They'll be greeted with some congratulatory comments from officials at the Russian Mission Control Center in Korolyov, as well as the spacecraft communicator here in Mission Control in Houston. We'll bring all of that coverage to you about 2 hours from now. So join us then, but for the meantime, we'll close out this broadcast with the successful docking of Soyuz MS-27 to the International Space Station. Good morning from Mission Control in Houston and the International Space Station Flight Control Room. You are looking live at the Soyuz MS-27 spacecraft attached, as it has been for the past few hours, to the Prishal node module on the Earth-facing side of the Russian segment of the International Space Station. It has been about 2 hours and 3 minutes since Soyuz eased into that docking port with a flawless link-up to Prishal at 3:57 a.m. Central Time, 4:57 a.m. Eastern Time. In the meantime, since that docking occurred, now you're looking inside the Prishal module at the hatch that will lead to the Soyuz MS-27. The leak checks between the two spacecraft have been ongoing for the past couple of hours. No issues reported. We're in the home stretch of those leak checks. We expect the hatch opening to occur somewhere in the neighborhood of about 6:20 Central Time, 7:20 Eastern Time. This is always a variable time based on the equalization of pressure in the vestibule, the small passageway between the docking interfaces. The launch and docking went extremely well, with the launch taking place from the Baikonur Cosmodrome in Kazakhstan. Liftoff occurring right on time at 12:47 a.m. Central Time, 1:47 a.m. Eastern Time, as the Soyuz 2.1A booster lifted off and arced out to the northeast, carrying Johnny Kim of NASA, Sergei Ryzhikov, and Alexei Zubritsky of Roscosmos on an 8-minute, 46-second ride to its preliminary orbit. The third stage of the Soyuz booster separated from the spacecraft right as scheduled, and the solar arrays and navigational antennas on the Soyuz deployed as planned, and the race was on to catch up to the International Space Station.
The pressure on your side. 753. Station.
Following launch, about 3 hours and 10 minutes later, the Soyuz arrived in the neighborhood of the International Space Station. Guided by the Corps' automated rendezvous system, the Soyuz made its way toward a fly-around of the station to precisely align its forward docking port, its docking probe, with the Prishal module. Then, moving at a very glacial rate of about 1/10 of a meter per second, the Soyuz eased ever so carefully toward the docking port on Prishal. You can see in this view, in the foreground, was the Soyuz MS-26 spacecraft, which is the ride home for 3 of the other crew members in about 11 days. With everything looking good and the docking alignments in perfect tandem, the Soyuz linked up with contact and capture to Prishal at 3:57 a.m. Central Time, 4:57 a.m. Eastern Time, as the two spacecraft traveled 262 miles over western Russia. Now, with them having donned or doffed their Sokol launch and entry suits to allow them to dry out, the leak checks have been ongoing for the past couple of hours with no issues reported. We're just waiting now for the pressure on both sides of the docking interface to equalize. That will then, in turn, allow for those hatches to open and for the 3 new crew members to float on board. They will be greeted by Station Commander Alexei Ovchinin of Roscosmos, along with his Roscosmos crewmates Ivan Wagner and Kirill Peskov, NASA astronauts Don Pettit, Anne McLean and Nicole Ayers, and Takoya Onishi of the Japan Aerospace Exploration Agency.
What did you say? Yes, I said that the battery charge is enough. Okay, then leave it on. Okay, and we will turn the camera on in the service module when we get there. Absolutely correct.
Super Москвы.
Paphos MCC Moscow. Go ahead.
Вы поработали в КВД СОБ?
No, did you close.
Once again, you're looking at the hatchway. In the Prishal module, Alexei Ovchinin, the station commander, has been checking out the systems at that hatchway. Once the pressure is equalized between Prishal and the Soyuz MS-27 spacecraft, the station hatch will be opened first, and then the stage will be set for the opening of the Soyuz hatch to allow Kim, Ryzhikov, and Zabritsky to float inside. With the population of the station increasing from 7 to 10, all of the crew members will make their way into the Zvezda service module for a brief welcoming ceremony. There are several dignitaries on hand in the balcony of the Russian Mission Control Center on the outskirts of Moscow, who will provide greetings to the newly arrived crew members before handing off to the spacecraft communicator here in Mission Control in Houston, Japanese astronaut Aki Hoshide.
Copy.
Favor, ответите по Москве.
Favor, MCC Moscow. Go ahead.
Готовы записать?
Are you ready to write it down? Affirmative.
Первое.
Number one,
Активацию корабля выполнять
Soyuz deactivation should be worked for orbital flight book, page 25, and then pages 30 through 38. 25, comma, 30-38. Correct. Do not deactivate gas analyzer. In other words, step 4.5 on page 36 has to be skipped, not required.
Once again, you're looking at Station Commander Alexei Ovchinin of Roscosmos. He is at the hatch on the station side of the docking interface between the Prishal module and the Soyuz MS-27, which arrived at the station just over 2 hours ago, with the docking occurring at 3:57 a.m. Central Time, 4:57 a.m. Eastern Time. Once the hatches are opened and the 10 crew members have an opportunity to greet one another and receive congratulatory calls from both Moscow and Houston, they will press ahead to a safety briefing that Ovchinin will conduct. That is standard operating procedure for all newly arrived crew members on board the station. The 10 crew members will settle in for a midday meal. The Soyuz itself will be deactivated, now on station power, of course, but all of the other Soyuz systems will be deactivated by Soyuz Commander Sergei Ryzhikov as the Soyuz settles in for a long stay on board the station, with Kim, Ryzhikov, and Zabritsky planning to remain in orbit aboard the International Space Station until December. They are joining the Expedition 72 crew, led by Ovchinin as station commander. The Expedition 72 increment will transition officially to Expedition 73 on the afternoon of April 19th, when the Soyuz MS-26 spacecraft carrying Ovchinin, Ivan Wagner, and Don Pettit undock from the neighboring Rosviet module on the Earth-facing side of the International Space Station's Russian segment. The increments are measured from Soyuz undocking to Soyuz undocking. On the day before undocking, that would bring Ovchinin, Wagner, and Pettit home to a parachute-assisted landing on the steppe of Kazakhstan. Ovchinin will hand over station command to Onishi of the Japan Aerospace Exploration Agency. He will remain the station commander until his scheduled return to Earth in July.
Favor, Moscow.
So we are standing by for the final steps in the equalization of pressure between the Soyuz and the International Space Station in that vestibule area, the small passageway between the two spacecraft.
Do not forget
That will enable the hatch on the station side to be opened first, followed by the Soyuz hatch.
Yes, I remember. That's after the TV. Yes. Then move from to orbital module of your vehicle and take BMP with 3.
And Ovchinin now is opening up the hatch on the Prishal module side of the docking interface.
And 3 EPK. Move to orbital module. BMP number 18 with 3 EPK. 1M masks. Okay, understood.
For Kim and Zabritsky, this is their first arrival on board the International Space Station.
So take off for 2M.
For Sergei Ryzhikov, his third visit to the complex, having previously accrued 358 days of spaceflight experience.
903 J. It's an MLM currently. M00142903. And there is a letter J at the end. Copy. Favors. Let's go to page 70 of a descent book. Go ahead. Sergey? SU? The Soyuz is open. Okay, copy, thank you. Favors? All right, perform steps in the box on MCC Go if you are ready. Copy.
Again, this is a good view of Alexei Ovchinin, the station commander, as he is awaiting the opening of the hatch to the Soyuz MS-27 spacecraft.
Could you please put the TK KVD into electrical control position? KVD TK is in electrical control position. Copy.
In the lower right-hand corner of your screen, Roscosmos cosmonaut Kirill Peskov, who launched last month to the station aboard the SpaceX Dragon Endurance, part of the Crew 10 crew.
Opening KKT. Opening KVD.
Moscow Station on Space to Ground 1. Please go ahead. KVD TK is in electrical control position. Copy. KVD TK is in electrical control position. Thank you.
S3 sent.
Once again, today's arrival after a smooth launch and an uneventful rendezvous and docking for the Soyuz MS-27 sets the stage now for an 11-day handover between the newly arrived trio of Johnny Kim, Sergei Ryzhikov, and Alexei Zabritsky, and the crew that will be departing in the Soyuz MS-26 spacecraft on Saturday, April 19th, that being NASA's Don Pettit, along with Ovchinin, who you see there in the field of view, and Ivan Wagner. They've been aboard the station since September.
797.
Pettit, in fact, will be landing on the steppe of Kazakhstan aboard the Soyuz MS-26 on his 70th birthday, which is April 20th. That'll be Kazakhstan time. The landing occurring just after sunrise in Kazakhstan on April 20th. It'll be April 19th, U.S. time.
Equalization in progress. Favors.
The final stages of equalization in that vestibule area is in progress.
Pressure equalizations at least 2 minutes after the pressure will be equalized. Copy. Favor, let's write down one more recommendation for deactivation. Ready. Install Unit 2 in orbital model number 1/22. Say the number one more time, please. 1/22. Copy. Unit number 2 in orbital model. The barcode is 0008726 Romeo. 00087. Please repeat. 0008726 Romeo.
265R.
Copy. Good copy. In node model, you need to find panel 110, blue bag, number 5842, barcode 00240194. J.
The hatch opening that will allow Kim, Ryzhikov, and Zabritsky to float inside the International Space Station to begin their tour of duty comes after a spectacular launch under springtime conditions at the Baikonur Cosmodrome in Kazakhstan, the launch occurring at 12:47 a.m. Central Time, 1:47 a.m. Eastern Time. The two-orbit rendezvous, which now has become commonplace for crewed vehicles in the Soyuz family of boosters to reach the International Space Station, took just 3 hours and 10 minutes, docking occurring a few minutes ahead of schedule at 3:57 a.m. Central, 4:57 a.m. Eastern Time.
Favors. Take a note about hatch open. Ascent book, page 72. Is this for favors? Affirmative for favors.
And now you see other crew members gathering at the hatchway as we are moments away from the Soyuz hatch swinging open. NASA's Anne McClain at the bottom of your screen. You can see Takoya Onishi on the right side. He again will take over command of the station from Ovchinin on April 18th. The day before Ovchinin, Don Pettit, that you see now in the field of view, and Ivan Wagner depart in their Soyuz spacecraft for the ride home and a parachute-assisted landing on the steppe of Kazakhstan.
Favors, MCC Moscow. Go ahead. Are you ready to write down? Are you ready to make a note in the book? Stand by one.
There's NASA's Nicole Ayers on the right side of your screen.
You go.
All part of the welcoming party to greet Kim, Ryzhikov, and Zabritsky moments from now.
Time inaudible. So now my suit or commander's suit is now in dry. 1420. Activated commander suit drying. Yes, copy. Favors. Are you ready to take notes for the steps after hatch opening? Pressure is 760, 760.
Station Moscow, Space to Ground 1 for TV coverage. The camera view is now off. Please adjust the camera. Excellent, thank you.
Favors, Moscow. Favors, MCC Moscow. Go ahead. Are you ready to take notes? Affirmative. After hatch opening, you'll need to work page 72 of the ascent book. You need to perform the steps in the lower box. Do not forget.
The flight controllers at the Russian Mission Control Center outside of Moscow talking to Sergei Ryzhikov, the Soyuz commander. Once the hatch opening has occurred and the crew members make their way back into the Zvezda service module for a brief welcoming ceremony, there'll be a safety briefing for the crew members conducted by Alexei Ovchinin that you see on the left side of your screen, the station commander. The 10 crew members will then settle into a midday meal. The Soyuz crew, the newly arrived Soyuz trio, will complete the deactivation of their spacecraft. It is now on station power for the rest of its stay on the International Space Station. That Soyuz vehicle will remain attached to the Prashal module until it's time for Kim, Ryzhikov, and Zabritsky to come home in December.
Copy. Our station crew is ready for celebration ceremony on your arrival. Well, we are ready to. Okay, guys, now it's no rush. Power, what's the current pressure? 755.5. Looks like it's stabilized. Purification units are deactivated and kept in the orbital module.
There's pressure readings being taken by the crew still inside the Soyuz vehicle, making sure that that pressure is equalized across the docking interface. As you see, the hatch on the station side of the docking interface is open. Ovchinin opened up that hatch several minutes ago, and we're just standing by for the Soyuz hatch to swing open.
Favors, close KKT, close KVD, send us for command.
Вас понял.
Copy all. KKT closed. KVD closed.
Работаем по
Принято.
Working page 71.
Принято. Дано разрешение на открытие.
Yes, you are go to the go for hatch opening has been given.
Есть добро на открытие.
Copy. Go to open the hatch. Congratulations on your arrival to the International Space Station. Thank you.
Сергей Артуганов, мы тоже тебя поздравляем с прибытием.
Sergey Erdoganov, we
also congratulate you on
the arrival of Paphos to the station. Thank you very much. And
yes, thank you. Thank you, Alexei, and congratulations to all of you guys. Well, congratulations on guest arrival. No, they're not guests. They're able bodies. Yes, you are correct.
Once again, if you've just joined us, we're standing by momentarily for the opening of the hatch to the Soyuz MS-27 spacecraft. Behind that hatch, Soyuz Commander Sergei Ryzhikov, NASA astronaut Johnny Kim, and Roscosmos cosmonaut Alexei Zubritsky. And the hatch now is open at 6:28 a.m. Central Time, 7:28 a.m. Eastern Time, as the International Space Station flew over the South Pacific. Zubritsky first on board. NASA's Johnny Kim arriving on the International Space Station. Soyuz Commander Sergei Ryzhikov with a return visit to the International Space Station. All hands on deck now. 10 crew members on board the station, following a very smooth launch and a flawless docking to the complex. Again, hatch opening occurring at 6:28 a.m. Central Time, 7:28 a.m. Eastern Time.
Moscow Station on Spaceground 1.
На связи Владимир, можно отключить.
Should I deactivate the camera? Yes, Yes, you can deactivate this camera and activate the camera in SM. Copy, in work.
So the 10 crew members now will regather in the Zvezda service module to accept congratulatory calls from the balcony in the Russian Mission Control Center before handing it off to our spacecraft communicator here in Mission Control in Houston, Aki Hoshide. As we wait for the crew to gather in the Zvezda service module, after the brief welcoming ceremony, the 10 crew members will sit down for a safety briefing to be conducted by Alexei Ovchinin. This is routine, just to familiarize the newly arrived crew on board with all of the locations of hardware and vehicles that comprise the International Space Station. Once again, the hatch is opened at 6:28 a.m. Central Time, 7:28 a.m. Eastern Time. And you see now that the crew is gathering in the Zvezda service module to accept those congratulatory remarks.
Moscow Station, Spaceground 1. Are getting the image? Yes, we are. All good, width-wise and everything.
МКС, СУП Москвы.
СУП Москвы, МКС, ЛСГ-1.
Да, Сергей, приветствую, это Михеев Александр, СРП. Нижний зал, приветствую. Сегодня 9-го, экипаж Алексей Джонатан.
Greetings to the entire crew.
Добро пожаловать.
Alexei Jonathan, welcome.
Добрый день. Спасибо большое.
Hi, thank you very much.
Вас тоже поздравляю с очередным этапом.
Congratulations as well.
Да, поздравляем вас с успешным началом экспедиции.
Same here. Happy start of the expedition. In the main room on the balcony we have guests. They would like to greet you as well.
Правда, вначале у нас может быть небольшой перерыв.
At the beginning we may have a small gap, just 1 second. Stand by, but we are going to the balcony. All right? Sergei Alexei Jonathan. Hi, this is Dmitry Kalashnikov. Greetings on behalf of the main operational group on board of the ISS. Good afternoon. Thank you very much. Greetings as well. Thank you very much as well. Yes, we hope that now that we have one more crew, we'll continue working. Wishing you good luck and success. Thank you very much, and we look forward to our joint work. Same here. We'd like to greet the crew that are currently on board the ISS. Alexei, Ivan, Donald. They are about ready to leave. Looking forward to going home, and we congratulate them as well, and we look forward to seeing them on the ground.
We're handing over communications between satellites on the tracking and data relay satellite system. We'll regain our downlink video and audio from the station momentarily.
You're ready to go home. We understand that, and we look forward to seeing you on Earth. And the crew who are there on the segment, we also wish you successful work. And now I'm passing the mic to our guests who are present on the balcony. Good luck to you guys, from all of us here. Thank you so very much. Hello. I wish you a normal flight, normal return. All the best, and we love you, and we look forward to seeing you back. Thank you very much. Happy work, happy flight, and we look forward to seeing you back on Earth. Sergey, friends. Greetings. Very happy to see you. Happy to see everyone. Wishing you good health, and we look forward to your return. Thank you. Likewise. Greetings. Hi, Sergey. So, these are your comrades here. Thank you very much from your regiment and this historic day. Congratulations on this successful launch, docking, and I'm confident all your experiments are going to end well. I wish you that everything goes well, and no deviations from the standard flight. Good luck to you. Thank you very much. Sergey, this is Limassol University. Have a good flight, success, fruitful work, and come back soon with good results. We'll be praying for you. Wishing you good luck. Thank you very much, and we'll do our best to return on time. Hi. This is your mother-in-law, Sergey. Hello, Natalia. Very glad to see you smile on board. You can hardly imagine what a moment it was when we saw the launch. I just held my breath. I couldn't breathe. That was unimaginable. Very happy to see you, wishing you fruitful work, that everything goes well, so that you can provide directions to your young family. And we look forward to seeing you on the ground. We are waiting for you. All the very best health. You are great guys. There are so many of you there. So please live happily, and please don't quarrel. Everything's going to be just fine. No worries. Sergey, hello. It was a marvelous launch. So this is the head of the monastery up in Pustin, has going to head something to you. We are trying to adjust comm. Please help. Just 1 second, please. Stand by. How do I turn it on? Please let me know. Please, Your Excellency, go ahead. The participants of the space station, Sergey Alexei Jonathan, Your weightlessness indicator, the engine of the Opnapustin monastery, was forwarding you on your way today. And we are providing the blessing from Opnapustin, from our monastery, and we hope that this will enlighten your path and lead you forward in the best way possible. We look forward to seeing you back here, and blessings and all the very best. Thank you. Thank you so very much. You were able to hear him. Yes. Yes, thank God. Sergey, good luck. Look forward to seeing you back. Wishing you all the very best. Thank you. I'll show you the angel. Good luck. Alexei, we are having this cup, Aviation Space Cup, and we look forward to seeing you here. Thank you very much for the invitation. Thank you. I really don't want to hang up. Okay, who will be the one who will say goodbye? Anyway, we are looking forward to seeing you, and please come back. The word to the mother-in-law. You look so handsome there, so beautiful. Please be healthy and see you back on Earth. Thank you very much. Thank you so very much. A crew, and I'm going to pass it on to MCC Houston.
You got that Brazilian from Houston.
Congratulations.
And Sergey, welcome back to ISS. Alexei and Johnny, welcome to ISS. It's great to see three smiling faces on board. And we look forward to working with you.
Thank you so much. It's a trip of a lifetime, and honored to be here. Thank you so much.
Moscow Station, Spaceport 1. Sergey, is the conference over or is it continuing? Just 1 minute, I'm going to check. Thank you guys, thank you very much. The conference is over. One more time, congratulations, and have a successful flight. Thank you everyone. All the best and talk to you soon. Thanks. Thank you, Sergey, and we're switching the cameras off, correct? Yes. And we stay at Space Ground 1.
This is Mission Control Houston. You just saw the welcoming ceremony for the newly arrived trio of crew members aboard the International Space Station. NASA's Johnny Kim and Roscosmos cosmonauts Sergei Ryzhikov and Alexei Zabritsky receiving congratulatory calls from friends and family gathered at the Russian Mission Control Center outside of Moscow, as well as spacecraft communicator Aki Hoshide here in Mission Control in Houston. This culminates a long day of activities that began with the launch of the Soyuz MS-27 that you see there in the field of view. The Soyuz launched at 12:47 a.m. Central Time, 1:47 a.m. Eastern Time, 10:47 a.m. Baikonur Time, and began a flawless two-orbit, 3-hour, 10-minute journey that culminated with a docking to the Prishal module on the Earth-facing side of the Russian segment of the station at 3:57 a.m. Central, 4:57 a.m. Eastern Time. About 2.5 hours later, the hatches swung open between the station and the Soyuz, allowing Kim, Ryzhikov, and Zabritsky to float on board. The station's population has now grown from 7 to 10 for the next 11 days, as a handover is now underway that will begin the ride home for NASA's Don Pettit, Station Commander Alexei Ovchinin, and Roscosmos cosmonaut Ivan Wagner, who will depart the station on April 19th in the Soyuz MS-26 spacecraft for a parachute-assisted landing on the steppe of Kazakhstan. So for now, with the newly arrived Soyuz crew safe and sound aboard the station, work is ongoing as the permanent human occupancy of the International Space Station approaches its 25th anniversary. For now, we'll wrap up our coverage of the arrival of Soyuz MS-27. Have a good day. Continue to follow us on the web at www.nasa.gov/station. This is Mission Control Houston.